What turns an attractive person ugly? Meth. Fucking truth. Worked at a gas station, and one of my regulars was honestly attractive, but she hung out with the wrong people and liked to party/club, not sure whether because where I live there isn't a whole lot of clubs if any, so maybe bar hop. And she'd usually stop by my gas station on her way to the club or way home drunk. But as I said, she hung out with the wrong crowd, so I slowly got to see her decline, seen her hooked, drunk and high on marijuana, I seen her high on cocaine, and this whole time her appearance is getting not really worse but changing, she's becoming more thin. Eventually I left the gas station, got a job somewhere else. I came back a year later to get a Red Bull on my way home from work and say hi to ex-coworker when I smelled something just horrible, like a mix between chemicals and shit. I turned around and this customer is walking by, and at first I didn't recognize her. Her hair had knots in it like she hadn't washed it in weeks. It was a mess. She was practically a skeleton. She wore some old sundress that had holes in it. It honestly looked like she was homeless. I walk up to the counter, pay for my stuff, and then my ex-coworker takes a break. There was another employee there who rang the rest of the customers up, and we go outside to have a smoke. First thing I say is, holy fuck, I didn't recognize so-and-so. Ex-coworker just says, yeah, she got into meth and pretty much went downhill. Fucking meth is horrible shit. I went to a rundown casino with my wife and her parents. We got some drinks and a waitress asked for my wife's ID and then said they had the exact same birthday. Same day, month, and year. The waitress looked like she was in her late 50s while my wife was in her mid-20s. Meth really wrecks people. Lack of common sense and humanity. This. Don't care if you look cute, if you're rude, you're genuinely an ugly person. Lack of common sense. I dated a 30-year-old woman who was just not very smart. Very nice looking, pleasant, but after a little while I figured out that her kind of low IQ permeated all parts of our life. She was also convinced she was ready to be a boss, be in charge of people. However, she kept on getting fired from secretarial jobs, office jobs, because she couldn't do the work. She was still trying to get, and spending money on classes for, a community college degree. She was somehow convinced that this would change her life. She had put $1,000 into a mutual fund 7 years earlier, and got a good rate of return. So she now had $2,000. She was confused. It apparently never occurred to her that you have to invest more, or keep putting money in, even at a good rate of return. She apparently thought she would invest $1,000 and become a millionaire. It was difficult being around her. Their smell. I'm not asking them to be drenched in expensive perfume, but for the love of God, just don't smell bad. One of my biggest fears is that I'm smelly and can't smell myself. I'm not one of those people who retains scents on my skin, body wash, lotion, perfume, so I'm constantly nervous I'm stinky. Being an asshole to waiters, janitors, and the like. Or just being an asshole and having a shit attitude about everything. Being an asshole and having a shit attitude, I see what you did there. I'd like to add phone operators to this. I used to work at a call center in WV for a large TV provider, and the lack of decency on many of the calls was astounding. Just the worst, most self-entitled, rude arrogance you can imagine. Ever since then, seeing someone treat someone else as subhuman on the phone for some bureaucratic nonsense that isn't even their fault has been a huge turn-off. Large companies have been very successful at creating an underpaid human buffer for facing any kind of public outrage. Selfishness. Especially when it's the last slice. On the flip side of this, being completely selfless. I got dumped for not being selfish enough because he felt like he could walk all over me. Having a shitty, arrogant attitude. I heard once, I don't care how pretty they are. Someone, somewhere is tired of their shit. Arrogance. Arrogance is definitely a huge turn-off. Where's the line between confidence and arrogance? How they treat others. I went on a few dates with someone really good looking, I thought so, anyway. All she did was make fun of the way other people looked, dressed, acted. It was so tough to take, but I kept holding on because of her looks. I realized how shallow that made me, too. How they treat animals. Littering, of course. Edit, guys, stop saying littering and. It confuses me extra. Edit, kudos to y'all who explained the reference. It's so easy to not do it yet people choose to, which is what makes it quite annoying. If I can be a bit more specific, throwing trash out of car windows. Social media obsession. On a similar note, wanting other people's approval and likes. That's a sign of immaturity for me. This one guy I dated was super good looking, but every time we'd be anywhere, "Can you take a picture of me?" used to drive me nuts. Bad hygiene. Bad breath, no deodorant, dirt under nails, etc. Bad breath isn't always a sign of bad hygiene. I used to have bad breath although I brushed my teeth twice a day, and used those mouthwashes. Turns out you can get bad breath if you have a shitty diet. Dirt under fingernails, cries in mechanic. Not everyone works in a nice cozy office, lol. Being rude to staff. Twisting a situation that they caused, so it's more favorable for them. MHMMMM. I get so disgusted when people don't treat servers like humans. Yup. Someone who is nice to you, but mean to the waiter, is not a nice person. Will always remember this story. I used to frequently have lunch with a colleague. We got on quite well. She was an older woman and tried to mother me like the others, but she seemed to be the most welcoming person there. She wasn't the prettiest of women, wouldn't even go as far to say she was pretty, but still she was a nice woman, so this reflected on her face. One day we were eating lunch and she started to scold our other colleagues and just be generally mean about anything and everything. As I went from looking at my lunch to her face, it changed, her whole facial features appeared to change, she looked horrific. It was only for a short second but made me think twice about spreading poison about other people. She turned out to be a nasty person, as did the rest of them. Good old office work. Damn. Glad you're smart enough to see their true toxicity and avoid these type of people. She sounds like Bilbo Baggins talking about The Ring. Personality of a wet mop. Hey, that's me. Or a slightly damp brush that has been left on the desk on Wednesday for 1 hour and 28 minutes, with a bit of a paint that used PB15 pigment, then rinsed with water, but there's still some paint lingering on ferrule, so it looks even more filthy than before rinsing somehow. When I was 15, my cousin's best friend was the cutest boy I had ever met. Until I got to know him. He was cocky and talked down to any girl that he didn't deem beautiful enough to put his charm on. He was never really mean to me because I was one of the boys, but that just let me see what he was truly like towards girls in general. He quickly became the ugliest person I knew. In turn, one of the funny-looking kids in my class quickly became my crush because he was just so nice. His inner beauty outshined his big ears and crooked nose before the first week of school was over. So yeah, personality is a game changer. I hate boys like that who literally won't talk to a girl unless he's romantically interested in her. In some cases they treat girls they consider to be unattractive poorly for literally no reason. Was his name Bastian? Them having to be the leader or center of attention in order to be cooperative. So annoying. I'm surprised I haven't seen this said already, but being unreliable. Like when they say, oh, we should totally go to this place, do this thing, watch this movie, pay this game, etc. And then either never follow through on the plan, cancel at the last minute, or meet up with you and change what you're doing. God. This. Like, if you're gonna waste my time and effort by flaking, let me know beforehand. I wasted so much time on people like that, especially when I was the one who always had to make plans. Abusing the fact that they're attractive to be manipulative. It's disgusting what people will try to pull when they think they're attractive enough to get away with it. I shudder at the thought of the kind of emotional damage I would have suffered from this if I wasn't a super cynical person. If I was kinda more trusting, more gullible, I can think of at least a few people that would have seriously taken advantage of me and probably left me all fucked up. I've seen it happen to friends and family too. Seriously fucking awful. Yep. Few years ago I had a crush on a friend. When she found out about that, everything changed. Like before, we would meet up for lunch and she'd just be wearing a t-shirt and sweats, etc. We always split the bill. But after she'd show up to lunch in mini skirts and low-cut tops and expected me to pay for the meal for the privilege of seeing some cleavage, I guess. We stopped hanging out shortly after, and the last time I heard from her she called begging me to help her move her stuff out of her house because she was being evicted, and promised she would do anything to show appreciation. If you are a super cynical person, the damage has already been done. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.